Okay. Just take a few moments and start. And just be present in the moment. Just be with our breath. Nothing to do. Nowhere to go. That's the blessing of not only satsang in the hour and a half of satsang, but in the satsang of our lives. Sat is truth, and sangha is to come together. So to be connected with our truth, to be abiding our truth on a regular basis, not as a thought, oh, that's right, but just to have it so alive and activated, it's just burning in the background of all experience. So nowhere to go, nothing to do. We already are everything that we seek. So take a few moments just to rest in your being. Take 3 deep, nourishing breaths. With each breath, allowing your sense of being to settle, relax. So welcome. Namaste. It's quite a thing to live this life with a sense of our own essential peace. And so many will go through an entire life, and peace are fleeting states of mind. That are easier at times when life is easier, and much more difficult when life is not so easy. And the answer to the question, who am I, is typically met with, I don't even hardly understand the question, let alone the answer. And one of the things that I've come to discover in my journey is that community and satsang and study and practice and devotion and patience are all so key. to awakening from the Maya, from the illusion of self that we've created in our minds, that every human being pretty much on the planet has done. We can't get around it for the most part, you know. To awaken from all the narrative and stories and beliefs and ideas and judgments and opinions that have been created in the mind based on what we learned and what we were taught, who we were told we needed to be. To know love, to know belonging. And we create a self, we create an image of self, an idea of self that then we wrestle with for the most part, until we don't. And one of the beauties and blessings of knowing our grace, and when I use grace, it just means truth. You can take, if anytime you use the word grace, if you replace it with truth, oh, that makes sense, right? May all beings know their divine grace. May all beings know their divine truth. May I rest in the grace of God, in the truth of the oneness. And when we come to know that grace, from direct experience with practice, study and attention, self-inquiry, it gives us a place, if you will, it gives us a place to rest, a place to pull back into, so that we can witness, a place of witnessing, a place of watching, witnessing all the vagaries of our own mind. And I found it to be the most liberating journey there can be, is to know thyself. To know thyself. The full dimensionality of our beings as human spiritual beings. To know the divine grace of our being, the eternal, essential, unborn, undying, unwavering presence of awareness, peaceful awareness, to know that, to abide that, is part of know thyself. And the other part of know thyself, and know and be able to witness and see and accept all the ways that our construct, that our programming, our conditioning, our idea of self, our story of self, our egoic identity rages and cajoles and whines for what it wants and tries to direct the narrative so that it gets what it wants, which is to feel whole. And it tries to do so with relationships and conditions and situations. So to know thyself fully is to know who we really are and to be able to bear witness with compassion and with deep love all the ways that our suffering gets in the way, that our stories, that our narratives, our pain, our seeking, our grasping, our clinging, our resisting. So just to be able to watch that dynamic of the personal self and love it. Because that's what love does. It loves. And the essential nature of our being is love. So when we're hating on those parts of ourselves or disliking them so much or shaming for them, feeling shame for them, it's just the ego self judging the ego self. It's not love. It's not our divine nature. Because what would love do? What would the essential nature of our being do? The divine consciousness of being, just being, our wholeness. It would look at all of that and just go, oh, look at my mind. Oh yeah, there's some stuff there to work on. Yeah, there's my 10-year-old, there's my 5-year-old, there's my wounded self. And what do they want? They want to feel their wholeness. They want to feel belonging. They want to feel love. So when we find our grace, when we abide our own grace, it allows us to unwaveringly, if that's a word, be present to our own mental, emotional, psychological, egoic dynamic and recognize that it is an experience of our humanity, but it is not the essential nature of our being. So today, let's maybe begin with a nice meditation to allow some direct experience, some knowing of the self that doesn't change, doesn't waver, is always waiting for us, is always present. And to recognize that meditation, there's all manner of meditations, of course, but so much of the meditation of self-inquiry is not a meditation of just being quiet, because the mind is asking questions. The mind is exploring beyond its normal habitual thinking and behaving and judgments. It's just being called to be more intentional and thoughtful and less reactive and more purposefully present to asking some important questions and with some curiosity. So we'll start with being with the breath to initially drop down out of the mind a little bit to find some stillness. And then we'll engage the mind in some thought, in some inquiry. Before we do, I'm called to ask, both for those of you online and for you guys, how are you right now in this moment? What do you notice about your presence?
Level of exhaustion.
It what?
Exhaustion. I'm feeling exhausted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It shifts, doesn't it, when we intentionally stop If I'm understanding you, I'm not sure I heard you fully correct.
I said feeling very exhausted.
Oh, exhausted.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, I did hear it wrong. I'm glad I asked.
It remains exhausted.
Yeah, right. And is that okay?
My mind was saying, no, I should be feeling full of energy and ready for the day.
Perfect, right? That what a beautiful place to sit and rest and look and watch what we do to ourselves. Because here you are exhausted. And the mind is saying, that's not the state I want to be in. We should change this. And when we change it, I can be at peace. And that's suffering. And what a beautiful thing to allow to notice the exhaustion and love it. And it's not, we're not inviting it to stay. We're not inviting it and saying, oh, I love you. I hope you never go away. Let's stay exhausted, right? We're certainly not saying that. We're simply saying, there's the exhaustion. Welcome. Everything arises so that it may pass. Everything arises so that it may pass. And we can think of it as a jar, like a bowl, a clear bowl. What if there was mud in the bottom? Stuff we're working with and dynamics of our emotional, psychological being that are dense, need to be cleared up. And they arise. We get stirred up and they arise, and our lives become muddy, and there's exhaustion and there's shoulds and all that. And it's like, I want all that to stop. So we try to get back into the high. And all that stuff just settles right back down again and says, okay, I'll be stirred up again. And what we're offering here today is the practice of constantly pouring in love. So if I had a jar of fresh water, clear water, and I just kept pouring it in, let it get agitated, and then pour in love, pour in love, pour in love, pour in love. Eventually, all the muddy water would overflow and everything arises so that it may pass. And we start to recognize that we're always love. And exhaustion is a temporary experience that is moving through the awareness of love. And we become more interested in, we were talking about this in last Satsang, we just become 51% more interested in the presence of being within which the temporary experience is moving. So we can be in our eternal and essential nature, noticing the temporary dynamic of our human experience. Ram Dass speaks about when you have a dark thought that isn't going to get you anywhere, that really isn't going to do you any good. Love it. Love your dark thoughts. And if a child came to you and said, I'm exhausted, would we say, well, we got to stop that. Yeah, you need to be different. You'll be better. You'll be okay. You'll be lovable. You'll be acceptable. You'll be acceptable when you get better. Yeah. So thank you for that share. Yeah, exhaustion. I've been feeling that a lot lately. And I don't like it, but I love it. But I don't fight it. I just make choices to do what I need to attend to it. But I no longer make it wrong or feel I should be better because today it's exhaustion, another day it's going to be this, another day I'm just going to keep telling myself that I'll only be okay when everything is finally stabilized. Ketan's rolling his eyes, like, right?
Always.
A long list. And does it ever really stabilize? The world doesn't behave. Our minds don't behave. We have emotions. We have all these different experiences. We need not suffer them. Gangaji said once, I love this. She said, suffering comes and goes for all of us, but it really doesn't stick around that long if we're not that interested in it. So Gaetan, where are you in your moment?
Feeling good and feeling curious about the inquiry, and it feels like I can hold more in myself at the moment. So I'm curious to see deeper in myself. I can love more while other areas that need some love, some attention.
Yeah. Curious. Yeah. Probably one of the most beneficial things we can do, especially in our meditations. To be curious. If the mind's racing or can't get off a topic or can't get off of a loop of a conversation you had or you're going to have, to be able to pull back and have some curiosity about that and watch. And what I'm hearing you saying, Gaetan, is also curious about what is this know thyself? Where am I at the edge? What's beyond that? How can I grow more? And then I'll hit this edge of understanding, of knowing, of abidance, and go, oh. And that'll allow you then to see what's next. And then also you said looking in and saying, okay, there's that, but also curious about, okay, and what needs attending to and what needs some love and what's tight maybe or needs some letting go. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why do I need to see myself I want to be more positive? But it's already a want.
Yeah, sure.
It's kind of the paradox of that I struggle with at the moment.
It's simply non-attachment. Have the want. Why wouldn't we want to be more positive? We just don't get attached to it and say, only then will I be at peace. Can I be at peace wherever I am? And yeah, I'd like to be more positive. I'd like to be less exhausted. But not to be attached to that as a requirement for our peace. I really appreciate, Jenny, that you take notes. I have some folks that I work with, it's just like pulling teeth to try to get them to journal at all, ever. And there's such value in being able to write and listen. It's just having a conversation with our own higher consciousness and allowing our own wisdom and our own knowing to come through. Beautiful. Let me jump in here, see if there's a comment here. So any comments online also are welcome about where you are, what you notice. Yeah, that just the stopping. Just the stopping is such a huge thing. Start with stopping. You can't see your true reflection in running water. It's in still water. We see our true reflection when we can become very still and notice, as you were pointing to, Gaetan, what's present, what wants some love, some attention, some letting go, some opening, and what is it that I'm opening to, and what is this being that I'm surrendering into? It's just the awareness to make the knowing of our whole being a consistent conversation of our lives, a consistent attention of our lives leads to a life of continuous growth and evolution. Because we're talking about knowing ourselves fully, and ultimately that's beyond what the limited mind will ever really be able to grok. So you could spend the rest of your life continuously going, oh, there's more. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Oh, Cynthia's here. Wonderful. I used to be able to pretend. I could do this and go, oh, I could read that now. Thank you, Cynthia. She just said, thank you. This is valuable. The reminders. Yeah. So study, devotion, practice, satsang, community, having those in your life with whom you can have these conversations on a regular basis helps raise us out of the general maya, the general illusion that most everyone's living in, that it's so easy to drop back into. So yeah, thank you, Cynthia. Blessings. All right, let's do a little meditation. So I invite you to rest with your spine straight, because we want to be attentive in our meditations. Intentional and attentive. And I invite you to allow the breath to come in and out through the nose if possible. The inhale and the exhale are moving through the nose. And with that, you're not sniffing in your breath. The lungs are doing all of the work. The lungs are inflating and then letting go. Inflating and letting go. The air just happens to be moving through the nose. Nice open throat or relaxed throat. It can help to push the tip of your tongue up against the inside of your lower teeth. And simply bring your awareness to the sensation of breathing. Notice the slight rise and fall of the chest and belly as the breath moves in and out of your body. Notice if the mind interrupts with questions or dialogue. And simply kind of wave it off and just say, no, not now, not now. And just bring your awareness back to the awareness of breathing. And then imagine that it is the heart that is breathing. Imagine the heart has little nostrils, and every inhalation is the heart inhaling the pure air and just expanding and letting go and filling and letting go. And then we're going to use our brilliant, beautiful mind that is always imagining things and let it imagine for a moment. What if, sitting here in this moment, right now, what if you had no story of self? What if you didn't have a name, a gender, a career? And we're not asking you to imagine what life would be like without that. We're only asking in this moment, sitting here right now, if all that identity went away, history, past, mom, dad, upbringing, experiences, if all of that was lifted, relaxed, melted away, would you disappear? If all there was right now was your breath and your heartbeat and your being, without any story, without any definition, good, bad, strong, confused, successful, not yet successful. If all of that was gone, what would be here? There is an essential and unwavering grace, truth of being that doesn't come and go. It's always present, simply waiting. For the awareness of itself to wake up. The simple I am. Before I am a woman, I am a man, I am trans, I am a mother, I am a father, I am a daughter, I am a brother, a sister, a friend. Before any of that, I am. Bringing your awareness to your breath. And noticing that when you follow the breath, it guides you to your being. recognizing that we then color this pure stillness of being this light, if you will, of love, of God consciousness, the essential truth of our being, before birth, after death. We tend to then color that with our narratives. With our judgments, with our opinions, the beliefs that we were taught, what it is to be acceptable, what it is to belong, what it is to feel okay. With our existence. When we feel beyond, look beyond, if you will, the constructed ego identity, all the things we say about ourselves that we've come to believe, when we look beyond that, we find a true self that doesn't change. And we come to recognize that all manner of thoughts and beliefs and feelings and emotions come and go within this presence of being, of awareness. we get lost in the content of experience. Things happen in life, and immediately we feed that into the database of our conditioning and say, how should I feel about this? What should I think? This peace of being is a presence of allowing. The presence of allowing. Because that's what love does. And true allowing is not an activity of mind. It is the very nature of our being. And imagine abiding, which means accepting that truth, that that is actually who we are. That is who you are, beyond your stories that are always changing, your self-image, the consistently changing, beautiful dynamic of life, emotions, thoughts, feelings, experiences. What if all of those were attended to from a equanimity of peace? What if all of the dynamics of our lives were attended to as who we really are? Unwavering, unconditional, loving awareness. I am that. And I want to attend to this part of my life and make some changes. And I want to attend to that part of my life and make some adjustments. And I want to attend to that part of my life and invite more success, more love, more experiences. Sure, I want to play in this life. And every step of the way, I allow what is, no resistance. Would that not be the peace that we are seeking? And this is the practice, to sit in our meditations and inquire, who am I really? What is the nature of my being that does not change. What is the nature of my being? That when the mind isn't coloring it with its thoughts and beliefs and opinions and judgments, who am I? The self between thoughts, the self between experiences. And just take a moment and imagine living life as that. Attending to your life fully. As peace. As the strength and resilience and love and presence of a peace that is you, not an experience, but the essential nature of you. Take 3 good deep breaths, breathing into the awareness of your own grace, your own truth, your wholeness of being. I'll invite you to open your eyes and don't get lost in all the content of the experience. Stay in your being. Imagine, don't budge. Imagine going to the store as this, attending to your life as this. If this peace could remain awake and aware and present in the background of all experience. And it initially can feel like kind of an extraordinary thing. You know, we talk about either enlightenment or awakening as something extraordinary. It's not. It's just living as who you actually are. What's extraordinary is the fact that we live so much of our lives in the story of self that isn't who we are. That's what's extraordinary. That we don't actually live this life awake as the divine consciousness that we are. It's understandable. We just get lost in all the thoughts and beliefs and stories and conditions and experiences, and we get lost in that. And it's kind of like the sky forgetting itself and getting lost in the weather, and all there is the weather, and the sky not being able to pull back out and go, oh, that's right, I'm the sky. Oh, check out all this weather. Ooh, it's a stormy one today. It's an exhausted weather pattern today. It's a confused weather pattern today. It's a loneliness weather pattern today. To be able to notice all of that and allow. The sky allows all the weather. It never resists the weather. The movie screen does not resist the movie playing upon it. The movie playing upon it is fascinating. It's wild. It's amazing. That's our lives. It does this. It does that. It does this. It goes there. It has all these characters. But the awareness, the presence of awareness, it has to be present to know the comings and goings of all the experiences. We forget the awareness of being, and we get lost in the movie. We get lost in the weather. The movie screen doesn't suffer the movie. The sky doesn't suffer the weather. And awareness, consciousness, love that we are doesn't suffer life. We typically don't suffer life. We suffer our mind. Two people have the exact same experience. One is totally lost in the experience. The other one is rested in their grace of being. Same experience. The experience has no meaning, has no actual substance to it. It's just that it's coming into one consciousness that is awake, that is saying, okay, yeah, I'd like to change that, but I'm not going to suffer it. I'm just going to do what I need to do to change it, because it's actually not pleasant, but I don't need to suffer it. And that same experience is coming into another consciousness that is asleep in the personal egoic self that needs everything to be a certain way in order to be at peace. We don't suffer the world, we suffer our mind. How we process it. We suffer how we process it all. And typically we're processing it through the database of shoulds and shouldn'ts and beliefs and conditioning and shame and just not knowing our wholeness. So how could I feel whole? How could I feel alive? How could I feel at peace when this shit's going on? And if that's the perspective, then we spend our lives constantly trying to get the world to behave and constantly trying to get our own narrative to behave. And it's exhausting. Yeah. All right. So what's present for you? What does this bring up as you're exploring the expansion of awareness and the noticing of what gets in the way? What's got your curiosity?
For me, it was observing the story of what's happening in my life at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, oh, it's like a game I'm playing this role.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of And also wondering what's the next game that I'm going to take. Can I play a better game or a different game or a more game? What happens if I'm not a game?
So when you ask this question, Gaetan, can I play a better game, right? What is the inspiration or motivation behind that? Because it's not a bad, right? It's not a bad, why would that sounds like a really smart thing to do? Can I play a better game? Can I love more? Can I explore more? Can I put myself into this experience or risk more or build my business more, whatever? Can I do it all better, more? Can I play with it? There's nothing really wrong with that, is there?
It's to find grace, yes.
To find grace. What if you find the grace first? So that the achievements aren't finding grace. That resonates, right? Yeah. It's this is called the direct path. The progressive path says when all of these parameters, when all of these things finally fall into place, and when I'm finally free of my habitual doubt, fear, triggers, trauma, anxiety, when I'm finally free of that, I can be at peace. That's the progressive path. So I'll work on it. I'll work on it with kirtan, with tantra, with conversations, with breath work. And these, go for it. Absolutely do that. But it's not so that then all of this can be relieved, that I can finally be at peace. The direct path says, no, you already are peace. We find that over and over again. And when we stop and we drop into our grace, we find it's there. It's like, oh, I am peace. So from that state of peace, let me work on my human conditioning. Let me play the game better. And does it feel like for you, Gaetan, that that's possible?
Yes, but there's also part of me that's resisting it. So sometimes realizing the grace is there, sometimes pushing it away. Not sure why, maybe because I'm afraid.
Well, it's a good thing to inquire, right? This is a good thing to meditate on, to marinate on, sit in a meditation and marinate on that. Why? Wait. I am pushing away my truth. For what? I don't want my truth. Why not? What would you want better? What would you want other than your truth? Good thing to look at, right? And who's pushing it away? This is why the word surrender comes up in this work. What does that bring up for you, the idea of surrender? To this unwavering grace of being. Let it be. Let it be the more prominent self. Let it blossom. Let it guide. And we start to look and say, well, who's afraid? Is it the love that's afraid? Is it my truth that's afraid? No, it's my Maya. It's my illusion. It's some part of my construct. So, okay, so I'll allow that and explore that with love and with compassion and with understanding. And go, oh yeah, I understand why there's a fear. Because I was raised like this, because I was taught that, because society tells me this. Oh, okay, we just keep pointing to our own illusions. We just keep pointing to our own resistance so we can see it. What a beautiful thing to notice it. It's one of the questions that comes up a lot is how, but especially from the ego. Well, first it says, yeah, but then how am I going to get my goodies? How am I going to get the things I'm addicted to if you stop needing them and stop trying to grasp for them? The ego says, don't stop trying to grasp for those. I need those. I need the success. I need the love. I need the belonging. I need all of these things. And so the question gets asked, how would I live this life from this place of just allowing and being? I wouldn't want to do anything anymore. I wouldn't have any motivation. And we just start to awaken to a new motivation. It's a motivation we're not familiar with, which is the natural essence of our soul, simply guiding us. Saying, yeah, it would feel good. Play more in this regard. Open that part of your life up, or stop doing so much of that and move here. It would just be a different motivation, a more authentic, graceful way of navigating life. So can you name, Ketan, and do you have any desire to name what's the fear?
I guess there are stories of unworthiness,
Mm-hmm.
and there are stories of uh, betraying people or letting people down by I am not what they want to be.
Mm. Yeah.
And just fear of being myself.
Not wild. Isn't it funny to say sometimes, right?
It doesn't make sense to say.
Fear of being myself. What is myself? Tell me about that. Tell me about self.
Like more love and more light and more life.
So this self, the real self, being more myself. Tell me more about that self. What is it? What's it? What's its nature? What is it? What is its essence?
It feels like a giant in me, waiting to allow itself to be giant, keeping itself small.
So it doesn't keep itself small, right? It doesn't keep itself small.
Mm.
Your ego keeps it small. Your sense of self keeps it small. But tell me more about that self. It's bigger. What else?
It's great. It's full of love.
It's full of love.
Yeah.
Anything else?
It's strong.
It's strong. Yeah. Resilient?
Of course.
Of course. Right.
It's like indestructible in a sense. Like it can only believe of itself if it believes it has to be. But it doesn't believe that. It feels like unbounded. It's like
Yeah.
limitless.
It's limitless.
Yeah.
It's unbounded. It's strong. It's resilient. It's full of love. Yeah, I'd avoid that if I were you. Right? So what's the fear of being that?
Maybe just not being loved by others.
Does that, so this is a beautiful inquiry. Does that need to be loved by others? Is it willing to diminish itself into a false self in order to be loved by others? That's called self-betrayal. It's the most hurtful betrayal there is. Is it willing to not allow its full of loveness, its strength, its resilience, its grace, to say, yeah, but if I'm my true self, I might lose the love of others who are living in illusion. So is it afraid of losing love? This is the ego resistance. It says, don't go there because I want my love to keep coming from there.
Mm.
It sounds like that resonated. The ego is saying, don't do this because I, the unfulfilled self, the small self, may stop getting what I am so desperately needing. So you can play with, this is a nice little technique. Sometimes you can play with sitting in meditation, especially coming to rest in your wholeness, in your love, in the truth of your being, right? And imagine the scenarios. Imagine resting in your grace, in your indestructible grace, and imagine losing the love. It would hurt. It would be hard. But would you be destroyed? And what is the clinging to that love costing you? The abidance of your truth. Is it worth it? This is the battle. The ego says, don't do it. There's consequences. And the unwavering, unconditional loving awareness says, I won't abandon truth, and I suffer no consequences. And the ego says, well, good for you, but as far as I'm concerned, this is not the life I need. So the most important question I was ever asked was, to what are you devoted? I spent about, a month being with that question. To what am I really devoted? And I realized I don't want to be devoted to feeding a false self that is full of programming and conditioning and wounding and wanting and needing and clinging. I do not want to be devoted to making that self happy. I want to find true happiness. That's what I'm devoted to. Yeah, this is Gary writes here, surrender to ourselves, our true self, not surrender to the world. I'm not going to surrender my truth so that I can belong in a world. I'm going to surrender to my truth self so I can live authentically in the world. How will I live in this truth? I don't know exactly what it'll look like, but I guarantee you it'll be a more authentic life than you've ever experienced before. Because you'll be living it as the true power, the true grace, the true love, the true compassion, the true divine essence of your being. That's how you'll live. And Krishnamurti said, it is no measure of our well-being to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Yeah, but we want to. It's a conundrum. We want to belong. Let's learn to belong to ourselves. Learn to belong home, in our own home, in our own truth, first and foremost. And then see where that wholeness of being fits in the world. I saw a meme the other day that said something around when we're really rested in our true peace and our truth of being, it involves a lot of goodbyes. Or at least honest conversations, and see what comes from that. Usually, often a deepening of relationships. Oh, a lot of comments here. We struck a nerve. Dan, such needed reminders. I feel so much peace right now. Thank you. Cynthia, beautiful grounding meditation that helped me come back to the observer. The observer. Pull back. When we feel like shit, it's because we're believing stuff that isn't true. It's the body's way, it's consciousness's way of getting through to us. Because it goes, I can't get through to you through your mind right now because your mind is totally clouded with illusion. So how does higher consciousness get through to us that we are believing things that aren't true? When we can't hear that consciousness in our thoughts and our minds and our beliefs because we're so wrapped up in our story, it says, okay, let me go to the body. Let me make you feel anxious, tight, constricted, fearful. That's how we know we're believing things that aren't true. It's a wonderful marker to go through life and go, God, I'm feeling this constriction. And the ego says, then what are we going to do about it to fix the circumstance or the condition or the thought? I need to have a better thought. I need to have a better feeling. I need to have a better affirmation. This is the trap of positive thinking. No, return to self. That's the invitation. Return to self, return to self, return to self. Not to make this feeling go away, although it typically will, but return to self simply so that you can love what's present and let it do what it is meant to do. Typically, it goes away. Why do we feel better when we drop into some truth? Because it's truth. Truth feels good. Illusion doesn't. Yeah. The question, excellent question, to what am I truly devoted? We're living life upside down. We're typically living most of our life as who we're not. taking life in, feeding it to a false ego identity to get directives. What should I hold on to? What should I resist? What should I run away from? How should I react? And we're denying the essential grace of our being that is trying to inform us about how to live as unconditional, loving awareness. And the ego goes, that's too vulnerable, and I'm not going to get my goodies. Yeah. And as I used to say to one of my mentors, Mary, I would say, Mary, God, this is hard. And she would say, yeah, it is. Until it's not. It's like learning to play piano, right? First time playing a very complicated piece, and oh man, this is hard. Yeah, it is. Keep practicing. And then one day, that same pianist is just playing the piece, not even thinking about it, just playing it. Whereas a year before, 2 years before, the first day learning it, what? Wait, I've got to do, this is hard. Until it's not. I don't know a more liberating path. Most people are on the path of trying to get it all to behave. Someday, maybe I'll get it all to behave, and then, whew, then I can relax. So anything else that comes up when you look at, feel into living life from a true resilience, from a true grounded grace of being? What changes? What shifts? What opens? And it's one of the most powerful meditations I know is to, when I sit with any inquiry, who am I without a story? What's the essential nature of being? I'm the sky and not the weather. Whenever I'm finally feeling rested in a true grace, then I can start to play with meeting all the different vagaries of my life as that grace. That conversation, that relationship, that difficulty, that hardship, that thing not working out yet the way I want it to work out. I just imagine meeting all these different dynamics of life as who I really am. And it's beautiful because it doesn't keep you from taking action. It just allows you to take the action from your true strength, from a rested grace of being, from a resilience, from a strength, from a peace. And when we awaken our authentic peace, we do awaken our authentic power. That's our power. Our power isn't in the control and manipulation and management. The management, trying to control how things are going and managing things, that is more powerful when it's coming from a rested grace of strength. Unwavering, undestroyable, indestructible. Yeah. Because God knows life does not It does not cooperate at the levels that we often want it to cooperate. It just doesn't. Especially when so much of it is the manifestation of people living in egoic Maya, creating a world of grabbing and seeking and taking and ignorance and greed and unkindness, judgment and shaming, and it's just, we're bombarded with it. And the only place we're going to find truth is right there. And remember, none of these teachings have any truth in them whatsoever. There's no truth in the teachings. The teachings are simply guidance to point us to our own truth. They're just ways of saying, here, look at it this way. Think about it this way. Have this, check out this inquiry. Pull back. See things, feel things from a different way. Nobody can give you truth. They can only point you to your own. Dorothy. Beautiful meditation and wonderful reminders. I feel very peaceful and centered. Thank you. Thank you, Dorothy. And Dorothy, that's you, right? This is important. This is a really important thing for us all to remember. When we feel that peace, when we feel that centeredness, it's not a temporary experience. It's to name it. Oh, there I am. That's the unwavering, indestructible being. There it is. And it's always there. It's always there. Like bring your awareness now to your left foot. And you notice, oh yeah, there's my left foot. When was the last time you were aware of your left foot? Unless you stepped on something or hurt it. It could have been days, weeks, months, years. And yet the moment that you decide simply to place your awareness on it, you go, oh, there it is. Always there. That's like our truth, our grace. It's always there. It's us. It can't not be there. It's who we are. It can't not be there. It's who we are. So when we find that, and when you find that, Dorothy, remember, there I am. There's truth. There's truth. Peace. That peace is my truth. So when I have a difficult thing in life to deal with, first return to truth and then deal with the difficulty. Not deal with the difficulty to get back to peace. First, find my peace and then deal with the difficulty. Again, we're living upside down. Most of us are doing it very backwards. Dorothy, I loved all the beautiful bird songs in the background during meditation. Yeah, some of them might have been the local roosters. I had to make peace with local roosters. Where I lived before, I didn't have roosters. And then I moved here. There are a lot of roosters. I don't even hear them anymore.
They're part of the charm.
The what?
They're part of the charm.
They're part of the charm, and they're just what is.
Yeah.
They're just what is. I could suffer them, but I'd just be suffering my opinions and judgments and resistance. I wouldn't be suffering the roosters. I would be suffering my resistance. So we'll wrap things up here. I invite in your meditations to find a little kernel of wisdom, guidance, something that resonates with you, something that just says, oh, that little thing, that little shift. I am the sky beyond the clouds, or the truth of me is always present, or I don't suffer the world, I suffer my mind that is interpreting the world through my conditioning. Whatever it is, find some little pointer, and in your meditation, marinate on it. Be with it. What does that mean? How does that play out? Can I abide that? Can I accept that? What if? This is a good one. What if I lived my life actually living this truth? Believing it, abiding it. What if I lived my life as who I really am? I sit in meditation and came out of satsang and I had a real sense of the true self. What if that true self is actually true? What if that's actually true? What if it's always true? And I just get lost in beliefs that point me in other directions. But what if that's always true? I am. The pure divine grace of love prior to any definition, prior to any judgment, belief, shame, story, narrative, condition, situation. Everything after I am is always changing, but the I am does not change. Yeah, what if? What if? Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. The world's going to get even more challenging, most likely, over the next few years. Kind of the Shiva energy. A lot of the illusion, a lot of the Maya has to fall apart. And it's done so in the past, throughout, way before any recorded history. There's been enlightened consciousness that then was clouded by the density of the ego mind. And then whole societies, whole communities, whole populations fell out of that grace, fell out of that knowing. It's the Adam and Eve story. And then in that darkness, the density just gets so uncomfortable and intense, and it just feels so wrong that then the truth burgeons again, enlightens again. And that's where we are. We're at a point right now where we're reawakening into the truth that we've been here before, but it's a little bit different right now. But so much has to fall away and fall apart. And the ego freaks out. So to have this strength, to have this awakened resilience is a godsend. To be able to manage a life of vagaries and change and difficulties, and to be able to have community and relationships and come together with others to be able to return to that strength, return to that strength, return to that peace, return to that divine wholeness, and then act from there, act from there, act from there. I don't know any other way. That's the only stability I've ever found is right here. So in an unstable world, where do we find stability? Sure, let's try to make the world more stable, but let's do that from a place of peace. So thanks for being part of that endeavor.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was saying earlier, I don't know what else I'd do if I wasn't doing this.